and on storm that you don't, but on all three utility taxes, you still pay state excise tax. So that's what this line item is.
36, it would, on page 36, it would be interesting to see the percentage rate increases for the permit holders as opposed to what they are in the 50% scenario.
So you want to do a quick look?
Yeah, so the math from existing to 2011, going from $8 to $9.70 would be a 21% increase. Going from 2011, oh, that's not right. From 2011 to 2012 would be a 15% increase. And it would probably stay right around there going forward. Yeah, around a 15%. So the big jump would be from existing to 2011 when you're making the change in the discounting practice, and then about 15%.
And when you're comparing up here, it's the
14
and a half. So the top line under the baseline scenario is the 14 and a half in all years.
And then on page 39, one ERU is 300 gallons per capita per day. So a family of 5 is 1,500 gallons?
This is essentially what you would be using for non-residential customers. So the residential customers would be the 4190, and they're just saying one ERU is 300 gallons per capita per day. So I don't know, Trevor, if you have any additional knowledge on.
That would be more of an estimate per household.
Yeah.
So that's
per capita.
Yeah.
Okay.
Breaking out rooftop residential from industrial commercial.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Do you have a set of principles or assumptions on which you based your model here?
Essentially rate-making principles from that type of thing, industry standards?
A couple of them, it looks like you're saying keep your debt to a minimum, set the rates to pay certain types of operating and maintenance expenses as you go.
Right.
I would like to see those assumptions or those principles if you have the whole list of them.
Some of them are not documented all nicely in one place. Some of it is consultant judgment and experience by working in the industry. Others are documented in the AWWA manual. There is not one concise book that you could go to that finds them all listed like that. A lot of it is just really consultant experience and talking with different underwriters but you may not find it like documented in a best management practice book. Some things that you would. So we could try to kind of identify, where some of the things are documented. For example, the American Water Works M1 manual for rate setting would have things talking about reserves, depreciation and funding and things like that. So yeah, unfortunately there is not one full documented set of consultant recommendations on
I'm not
that.
so much interested in seeing where it came from.
Okay.
I'm just interested in seeing the assumptions or the principles that you used to put this together because it looks pretty sound to me.
Okay.
If that's going to be extra work, I'll forego that question.
That makes it easy.
If you have that readily available, I'd be very interested in it because it appears to me that what you've done here is very soundly based, and I'd like to see what it's based on.
Okay, so what our next step here is to document our findings and recommendations and assumptions in a study report. So if it's something that we could put together, something like that would be fun. That'd be great.
Let me ask my colleagues if they would be interested in that.
Sure.
I'd be interested in any information and so forth about how you came across these numbers.
Okay.
And why you have your priorities set the way you do.
Okay, certainly. We'll get that documented in a deliverable product for you.
We appreciate that. I think more than anything else, what I'm looking for is how do we explain this radical rate increase? And part of it is the underlying assumptions. And in this financial environment, I think your underlying assumptions are strong, valid, and a darn good idea.
Good.
So what I want to do is find out what they are.
Okay, will do. Any
see
other
if I'm right.
questions?
I do have one question about the baseline adjustment strategy for the stormwater. Slide 33. I noticed that the thing that you kept constant from 2011 all the way through 2015 is the percentage rate. And they mean, the first year that equals an increase of $1.16. The last year is $1.99. Is there any advantage to keeping it an even, smooth percentage versus we average out the difference between all of them, and it's probably going to be, what, about $1.50 or something like
Yeah.
that each year increase, which then that percentage increase decreases over time, but it's a smooth increase each year. I was just curious if there was some reason why we were biased towards the percentage being constant.
Mainly speaking, let's say it's a holdover from utilities that aren't as simple as storm, where you just have one rate. So in water and sewer, for example, first you have to figure out what is the overall need, so then you can figure out how to get that revenue from all the different customers. In storm, where storm is unique, is you only have one rate that's applicable for everyone, with the exception of your credit. So so it's just industry practice, I would say, for consultants, is you usually determine what the overall system-wide rate increase is before you look at the rate itself. In storm, it's certainly, because it usually is for, not all utilities, but certainly this one, there would be nothing inappropriate about doing it the reverse way. That would be just as easy as something like this. We would just, reverse it and kind of say, okay, about how smooth would you want the rate to be? It's just kind of a backwards approach from how the analysis is built. The analysis takes all the costs, determines the percentage, and then calculates a rate.
Yeah, the reason I bring up that question is because if you think about it from the consumer's end, it looks like it gets worse every year from now until 2015 because of the cumulative rate adjustment. Versus you say, well, it's just 10% or 14.5% over last year, but each time that's a bigger number and a bigger number and a bigger number, versus it being a truly smooth approach as far as how much actual increase it is in dollar numbers per each year.
Right. So here it's rather, are you smoothing the revenue need, or are you smoothing the customer bill? And in storm, like I say, especially in your situation, it would be easy enough to smooth the rate, whereas that's really not the industry practice, is to smooth the rate, is to, so, but it certainly, if that's an interest in seeing that revised to be that kind of a method, we could certainly do something like that.
Thank you.
Okay, so someone had a question that we were doing a calculation on.
So if you wanted to drop the water system reinvestment funding to the same phase and plan as sewer, it would save between 1.5% to 2% in the rate in the first year. But what we'd have to run is what that would do to subsequent years, because there would be less available capital cash, meaning you would need to bond a little bit more to do your capital projects, and so debt service would go up. So, but if that 13.5 could come down maybe 1.5%, 2% in 2011.
And then the future ones would definitely go up higher than what they are. I mean, they would have to, yeah.
One other thing, it just popped into my head. I think I heard you say that historically, over the past few